Ladies and gentlemen, I know there was a point in time when we used to talk about bad things that were happening at daycares at such a high rate. It seemed like almost every week we had a new daycare story, but it's kind of slowed down. Well, no, it really hasn't. We had a number of stories that we've talked about. The individual that you see on my screen, we don't know all the details, but we do know that that individual has been arrested and is going to be held responsible for the death of a baby in a daycare. Yes, this story comes out of a place called Oxford, Mississippi. I don't think I've done any stories out of Mississippi, but nonetheless, a 2-week investigation into the death of an infant baby at an Oxford daycare last month ended with the arrest of a Grenada woman on Wednesday. Now, the Oxford Police Department arrested that woman who y'all saw on my screen. Let me see if I can get her face back up here. This woman's name is Amy Rogers, who was 23 years old, of Grenada at around 2 p.m. on December the 2nd. It was just not that long ago, not even 2 weeks ago. She was charged with culpable negligent manslaughter, and booked into Lafayette County Jail on a $50,000 bond set in Lafayette County Justice Court. If convicted of manslaughter, she could get 20 years in prison. Let me try my best to try to give you guys a little bit of context and a little bit of more details. Oxford police spokesman Brett Jones did not release any details about the death of an 8-week-old child. While the date of the death has not been formally released, Jones said that the investigation began on November the 17th. It's still an ongoing investigation. No further information will be released at this time. In the days following the child's death, the state health department ordered the daycare, which is called Mother Goose of Oxford, located at 415 Galleria Drive on the west side of town, to stop accepting infants. Yes, this happened in Mississippi. $50,000 bond. On November the 19th, the Mississippi State Department of Health announced it served an emergency suspension/restriction of license to the daycare. The facility has been determined to constitute a substantial hazard to the health and safety of infants entrusted to and cared for by its said facility, said State Health Officer Dr. Thomas Dobbs. The facility had to immediately cease and desist providing care or enrollment of infants. The order did not affect the care of the older children. Mother Goose of Oxford has a maximum capacity of 142 children, specializing in the infant to 4-year-old range. Now, according to the Mississippi State Department of Health, Mother Goose of Oxford Incorporated was licensed in 1999 and has received no monetary penalties. Zero. No monetary penalties during the course of its entire license. The facility was last inspected in October and received a pass pending based on the receipt of the documents. And you know when they say it only takes one bad apple to spoil the bunch. One ignorant individual to spoil the whole damn daycare. And this is a daycare that a lot of people have actually watched kids grow up and become adults. So this is just really, really a unique story. Let me give you guys the fair usage. Let me let y'all hear the news video. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit
the infant care rooms at a Mississippi daycare are closed right
or video disc under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use. It is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107. I don't know why that video likes to play on its own. Here we go.
Now, that's after the death of an 8-week-old. The death at Mother Goose Daycare in Oxford has state and local investigators now looking into what happened. Fox 13's Tom Dees talked to investigators and to people in that community who know the owners of the facility.
The Mississippi Department of Health called Mother Goose Daycare a substantial hazard to the health and safety of infants entrusted to their care. Kathy Whitaker works just down the street.
Cannot believe it. That daycare's been there forever. I know so many families that's gone in and out of that daycare, kids that have grown up at that daycare. I know the family that owns it.
Oxford Police Chief Jeff McCutcheon told me that he didn't want to speak to the case out of respect for the child's family, but he did tell me that he has every investigator he's got on the case.
I mean, I believe that. The police department here is fantastic. I think they're going to completely do their research and take care of whatever it was that happened. I just want to know what happened.
What we do know is that the child was airlifted from Oxford to Le Bonheur Children's Hospital in Memphis on Tuesday morning and later died. The daycare has never been fined or failed to pass inspection, according to state records we found. Its only Better Business Bureau complaint was about billing.
I hate it for the families. I hate it for the people that own the business. I hate it for all of Oxford. It's very tragic.
Mother Goose Daycare can take care of as many as 142 children up to age 4. Only the infant rooms are closed for the investigation. In Oxford, Tom Dees, Fox 13 News.
And coming up on Fox 13 News at 6, what an attorney for Mother Goose Daycare has to say about the infant's death and the ongoing investigation.
The attorney for an Oxford daycare says it is working with an investigator after an 8-week-old in its care died this week.
Yeah, the state has shut down the infant care rooms at Mother Goose Daycare while that investigation goes on. Fox 13's Tom Dees got reaction from the attorney and the community.
Destiny Bolden of Oxford said that she was shocked to hear that an infant had died while in the care of Mother Goose Daycare. Bolden works at a different daycare in town.
It's very sad that a child has lost his life, but that's very unheard of around these parts, especially at any daycare in Oxford, Mississippi. I've never heard nothing but good things about Mother Goose, being that I had a friend that worked there and she loved it and enjoyed the staff and the community that she worked with.
Attorney Ray Hill, who represents the daycare, tells me that the daycare is devastated and that they are grieving for the family. They also tell me that they're cooperating with the investigation and that they will make a statement when the investigation is done.
I would be sick if I had a child to pass away, or even if I had a child that was in my care that passed away.
I found out Mother Goose Daycare can take care of as many as 142 children from infants to pre-K. Bolden tells me she's praying for the family of the child who died.
I hope life gets easier, the pain becomes bearable, and I will be keeping the family in my thoughts and prayers.
In Oxford, Tom Dees, Fox 13 News.
Police are not saying right now how long they think the investigation will take. Meanwhile, the Mississippi State Department of Health says that they expect a report from their office by Monday.
I got to tell you, man, I bet those parents are really sad, whoever the mother and father is of that little baby. I don't know if it was a little girl or a little boy. I'm not exactly sure. But this is exactly why parents like me and my daughter's mother and so many other parents out there are so protective. We are so worried about taking our young newborn babies to daycare. So for me and my daughter's mom, I think we waited almost until my daughter was 2 years old before she even smelled a daycare. We waited a while. But that's just really sad, and that's got to be a parent's worst nightmare. It sucks even more for this daycare that for all of these years, since 1999, they've never had a single thing happen. Nothing like this. Until one day in 2020, November of 2020, a death happens at the hands of that particular individual who was responsible for that baby. And not only does it put a stain on the daycare, that's something that they can never erase. That's something that people will remember forever. And it could also potentially put them at even further risk that the people there could lose their jobs, they could lose their license, they could lose their practice. Because if that family decides to sue that daycare, they'll be out of business. This place has done so well, probably had maybe 10,000 success stories. Then you have this one bad apple that ruins the entire damn thing. And it's a shame that that daycare might not ever get another opportunity to be able to care, not only for that same group of babies, which is the bulk of its business, but those ladies that you see right there are going to be out of jobs, and that owner is probably going to be out of a business because they did everything that they could in their power to make sure that they train and hire correctly. And this bimbo, bean-headed individual right here decided to be negligent to that baby who cannot speak for itself nor defend itself against the tyranny of its caretaker that day. It's really sad. And like I say, I think that they need to really, really take a harsh stance against that individual for what she did to that baby. I don't think that daycare needs to suffer for her bad decision, her negligence, her bad choice. I hope that they give her the fullest penalty under law. And like I said, I hope that people in that community understand kind of where I'm coming from, that that daycare doesn't need to suffer for what that individual did. She needs to suffer. If they're going to sue anybody, sue her. This is your boy DJ Just J, man. We're going to continue to keep trying to give our babies some light and speak for them and advocate for children first. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already done so.